Welcome, welcome. January 14th, 2026. Holy moly. Let's call this City Commission, Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. Roll call as listed. Kayla?
Here.
Fred?
Here.
He said here. Nora?
Here.
Myself, President Dusty.
Here.
Melissa?
Here.
And Patrick?
Here.
Full house. Are there any changes to the agenda for this evening? I know Pam wanted an extra minute for the O'Connor Fund report. But
I don't have any changes. I thought that Sharon might be here, but I will attend to her report at the end of the meeting. It's the last report of the meeting. Otherwise, no other changes. No changes.
I might have a change. Lewis, I had mentioned about talking about the Sexton Lodge, not that, Friends of Historic, oh my God, Friends of Historic Kalamazoo Cemeteries. Is that something we want to cover in the cemetery portion, or should that be a separate agenda item?
I think I can, if you want to pull it out, you're more than welcome to pull it out. I think that if people want to make a vote on something during that, they could certainly elect to do so.
It doesn't quite fall under the current goals of that committee, but I can talk about it then.
Yep, sounds good.
all right. Motion to approve the agenda for this evening from anyone?
I move to attend or approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, looking at the meetings from December's meeting. Anybody had any notes on the minutes?
I noticed a couple of T's, and I read it real quick, and there seemed to be, I don't know exactly where that was. I'd have to get it up and look at it again. There was a typo with a couple of T's and a couple words there.
I think one of them might be E3, second line. It says make out, and it should be make hour.
Oh, there's that one too. I think it's another one. Let me try to catch up here.
And while we're in E, I noticed in 2, the last line, work should be word. And in F2, it says veil to approve. I think it veil move to approve. And then it says 2023 O'Connor Fund Work Plan. Obviously, it should be 2026.
There seemed to be a lot of text in this meeting. A lot of stuff went down last month. But overall, it seemed like it was pretty well transcribed. Congrats.
Anybody else?
Still trying to find that. Materials.
I guess my only thing to add is, yes, we have a great transcription going on. Thank you for everything you're doing for the committee.
Exactly.
I can move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second?
All right, we can come back to that if we need to, Fred. Public comment section. Do we have any submitted previously?
Nope.
Pam, did you have anything this evening?
I just wanted to let everyone know that the Michigan Historic Preservation Annual Conference is taking place May 7th through the 9th this year in Grosse Pointe Shores at the Edsel and Eleanor Ford Community Center or Visitor Center, I think it is. And Luis and I and our advisor from the Kalamazoo Community Foundation are going to be giving a session on the creation of the O'Connor Fund. So I hope you'll be able to make it, and if you're not already a member of MHPN, you should be, and you would be having this information delivered right to your email address. Thank you.
Thank you. Takes us into the reports. First, we have financial with our lovely spreadsheets as usual.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. And it's, sorry, I'm trying to look up the exact location of it. Edsel and Eleanor Ford House, a national landmark, it says, which is in Grosse Pointe Shores. They called it the Detroit area last year. Wasn't crazy about that. Kayla and I also will be on a panel together next year.
Next year or this year?
This year, excuse me. I'm still stuck in 25. Sorry. We're not planning for 27 yet. 26. Seems weird to say. All right, so this is just the one that I attached is just the December sheet. Again, I did receive after I put this together a spreadsheet that I believe is the same for this month. When I tried to pull it up, I think they were still processing stuff as we just got into the new year and everything was showing up as zeros at this point. We haven't spent any money, so nothing has changed with regards to this portion. I did just want to pull up the other one real quick that I received. I think it's going to take a little bit too much time. Well, maybe not. So I got another budget on Monday that is showing the same numbers. So it is right. Like I said, when I tried to run one by myself, they just haven't updated the stuff, so it was all rolling over zeros, and that obviously was not right. And then someone from the finance team sent me over an updated spreadsheet, so we were good. Any questions there?
Doesn't look like it.
Awesome. I will say that I have taken out my spreadsheet O'Connor Fund report because Pam always puts the numbers in her report. Thank you for putting the numbers in your report. So we'll get down to those ones. It's not coming right after now. It's going to be in a couple reports. So just in case people are wondering where my lovely spreadsheets are, they're gone.
Does everything in this financial report look right to you?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't changed since. These ones are easy because we haven't spent any money yet, and it's truly the same from
December?
So.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you for asking, though. And yes, this is an easy one. So.
All right, that takes us to Preservation Month. We've got a report here submitted by Nora after our meeting.
Yeah, so as the report describes, we met as a subcommittee and actually ended up sort of accomplishing both of our, both A and B of Goal 1, which is exciting. The update for that is in blue. We plan on, in the next few months, sharing the rubric that we will use as a commission to judge the nominations that are submitted, so just be prepared for that. And as you can see, Goal 1 is really focused on kind of preparing for the award to go live and kind of intentionally thinking about marketing this year as well. So we'll also maybe be asking the commission to talk with people and encourage them to come celebrate with us in May at the awards. So
if you have any questions about what we've outlined here, feel free to let us know, but otherwise it's pretty straightforward.
Any response yet from the city side?
Let me pull mine back up. Or I guess a response from,
Marketing perspective.
yes, so we sent over the email to say, hey, can we set up the meeting? And then they said, yes, we're more than welcome to do that. So we just need to, I can't remember if I put dates in that last email that I sent out to you or not, but we will get one set up. They're more than happy to do that. So positive on that end.
All right, any questions on that report? Next, we take tours through the city.
Very nice segue.
Yeah, so I have the historic tours work plan, working document with our meeting notes that we put together some of our ideas from our January 8th meeting, mostly focusing on our goal 1, which as you can see is talking about the different areas of the tour, kind of getting the major things worked out. I did want to note that we did push the due date back for goal 1, both A and B, to February, our meeting, so that we have a little bit more time to do some research, kind of finalize some things so that we can bring them to the commission and discuss them in, a broader form. So those are just some of the ideas of the locations or themes that we're thinking of for each of the tours. So if you guys have any input on those or any ideas that you'd like to see, please send them our way. We'd love to talk about them in our subcommittee, tinker with some ideas. Potential mediums as well that we're kind of talking about. I think we're leaning more towards electronic at this point just because that will be easier and we could always turn it into something physical later down the line. And then as of right now, we are planning on having the tours be a revenue source for the O'Connor Fund. Again, working on that for February meeting so that we can get a little bit better of ideas of how we could best go about doing that on a digital format of the tours as well. We talked a little bit about some of the other goals just in the grand scheme of trying to get a big picture of what we want to accomplish over the next year with these tours. So if you have any questions, feel free to let us know, or any ideas as well.
You said Clio doesn't allow for payments, is that right?
I am currently not aware if it does or not. We're trying to figure out if we want to do something where, we can anyone can access the tour, but maybe we as a commission host tours in the sense of everyone comes to the location and does the tour on their phone, and that could be like a donation basis or an event that they pay to get to, but it's a little bit difficult with anyone can access the tour on their own, so why would they come to an event to pay us to do it when they could do it on their own? I think Dusty had sent one that she has a little bit of experience with that we could possibly use, as there might be some options there for a revenue source or being able to pay to access the tour, which would help us with our revenue.
What software do you want to use?
What was that, sorry?
What software do you want to use? Clio?
I think that's I'm personally more experienced with that one, so that's the one I'm leaning towards, but definitely not going to shy away from any ones that might fit the needs of the commission better.
So I think in the past, and I need to double check, so don't quote me, anyone here or anyone out there, we've used Eventbrite through the city to be able to collect fees for things. I'm sure that there's ways that we could set up kind of a two-step process to collect fees if we needed to, hiding the URL in essence if we didn't want them to have it, and then once you pay, you get it. I do think too that I completely agree with the thought, right? I can think of myself, if I could just go do this tour by myself, why would I pay to go to it or anything? But I think that there was a sense of community that was certainly fostered by the tours when I would see them being led by Lynn, for example. I think that some of the the folks that would come to those, I think, might be more than happy to get the communal experience of actually going out to do it in public. Obviously, you're buying someone's time at that point too if we were hosting an event. So I wouldn't give up on that idea quite yet too, and continue to workshop it. But that's my 2 cents. Don't compromise the software just because of lack of being able to take funds, though.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about that idea of having it kind of behind the link itself behind a paywall. And we did talk a little bit about having, if we did do in-person events, like having it almost be like a donation basis as well. Like, oh, if you want to come out, this is what we're doing. If you want to donate, cool. But that gives us a lot of ideas to think about. Thank you.
I wanted to quick add also that Clio is something a lot of us don't really know, but when you poke around in there, there's a lot of groups that do use it for these kind of historic tours. So in the community it's known. I think overall, I have referenced it and people out in the world have said, what are you even talking about? Which is what I said to Melissa when she first mentioned it to me. But it is a great way to network with other kinds of tours. So I do think it's a great place to house things. It just, yeah, I think that a paywall might be an interesting, thing, but just, I really support the idea of having it there because it becomes part of a network.
Yep. Lends some legitimacy to it because it looks like a lot of folks use it. So I think that that's the right path, for sure.
All right. Brings us to the O'Connor Fund report.
If you would care to, you can certainly come on up.
Did you have anything that you wanted to say, Luis?
Uh,
Questions about the report or from anyone?
Not particularly. I mean, I haven't heard back from Matt Klaus still yet. At KNAC, I know that we had the one communication with him. This is on O'Connor Fund related topics, right? From the grant that we gave out, I know that they said they ran into some other stuff, I believe, in the email, so they're still working through it. I'm fine with that. They're making progress, so I'm not going to ding them for that, and it's not going to, there's going to be no penalty. So as long as they continue to communicate with me or you or someone involved with the grant process, I'm okay with that, just so you guys all know where that one's at yet, and the money has still not been dispersed out to them.
And just, I went back and looked at our communications and schedule. They are still well within their 18-month period
Yes.
for completing their work, so.
Yep. It's funny how time flies. Feels like it was a long time ago, but it really wasn't. Other than that, just happy to see the growth again on the fund. So good to see those numbers getting bigger and bigger all the time. So
Yeah. Anything else from anyone? Questions? Patrick, you and I talked briefly after the meeting last month, and I went back and looked at that policy. It's going to need some work after we effect the fund split. But we can't do anything until we have the fund split, so.
Sure.
Okay.
I have got some other news tonight regarding the O'Connor Fund that I wanted to share with you all. Kind of, maybe it'll help kind of counterbalance what this, the sad part about not getting that goal accomplished before the end of the year. Terry and I had lunch with some longtime friends and supporters of the O'Connor Fund. They have been making annual gifts since we founded it in 2000. And we hadn't seen each other for a couple of years, a few emails back and forth every now and again and stuff like that. And when we got their letter at Christmas time, I said, we're gonna get together. So we did, a week ago Friday. And we had a really good time catching up. And when we were finished, they told us that they had added the O'Connor Fund to their estate plan. That was unexpected. If they had told us before, I had forgotten because it was so long ago. And kind of as I was gathering my wits enough to say thank you, because I was just as flabbergasted as I could have been, they followed up by saying, but that was 15 years ago, and since then we have changed our minds and we're rethinking things. And I went, And so while I was trying to catch my breath, she, of the couple, husband and wife, leaned over and touched me on the arm, and she said, we plan to live for a while. And we thought you might be able to use the gift sooner than to wait until after we die. Would that work out, you think? And once I started tracking again, I said, oh yeah, that would work out great. In fact, I told him that I had been, as I was getting ready to prepare this report, that I had been looking at how successful the fund had grown, how successfully the fund had grown this last year. And you guys probably know me, I was already thinking about when can we start making bigger grants, or when can we start making more grants and that kind of stuff. At any rate, he then picked up the mantle and said, after consulting with your friends at the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, we've decided to make a $100,000 gift to the fund over 2 years. The fund today is worth just a little bit under $700,000. This is going to bump it up in today's dollars. If it were in the bank right now, that would be a bump up of almost 15% in value. So it's going to make a big difference in our future. Yeah, I need to go now. Thank you.
I feel like we should clap, but I don't know if that's what register well. What?
Yeah. Good job of like building the suspense and then telling us. So I applaud you for holding it together for as long as you did, Pam. I did not know before this either, so that's huge. Obviously, thank you to those folks who have made that donation. Inching closer and closer to $1 million, every day, right? Which I think is something that is amazing, right? Even when I had started, we weren't at $500,000, I don't believe. So we're going faster than incremental progress. We're taking leaps and bounds towards $1 million, which is huge, right? To not only be, you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing it, but the only group in Michigan that has this kind of thing, but then we'll probably be the first in Michigan that also has something that's worth $800,000 or close to it, and then we'll also be the first that when we get to it, it'll be worth $1 million as well. So
Make sure you include that in your presentation that you guys give MHPN.
make sure to include that in the presentation to MHPN. So I'm sure you are. I think that's a huge deal. So yes. It was a great report. I think that's going to be hard to follow up. But
I know there's some time until this, but would acknowledging them at, say, our preservation event in May be something that they would appreciate? Is that, I don't know if they're those kind of people. Some people don't like that. Some people do. I would love to ask them. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if they watch the meetings, and if they wish to remain anonymous, that's wonderful, but I think that if they wish to remain anonymous, I'm sure, I know at least I would love to write a letter, and if you could give that to them, I guess, to say just thank you, obviously, and I'm sure that you guys would all sign something as well. It's not to give away the secret that we're going to write a thank you letter, but I think showing our gratitude in some way would be wonderful, but I do completely understand the desire for anonymity as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. I understand you wanting to go sit down. That's a huge deal. That's really something. So thank you, and thank you to them as well.
Next in the packet was your staff report, but I think that's supposed to be later, right?
Mine?
Yeah.
Cemetery report.
I'm sorry, Dusty. It was just a blank one that I
okay.
didn't take out.
Wrong heading.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was actually going to ask you if you would like us to use that kind of format for reports, or if that was like a placeholder for something else.
No, it automatically generates it
Cover
every
sheet.
time, but you
Okay.
have to take it off every time, and I
Okay.
often forget to take it off every time. If you guys want to, you can certainly use that way. It like generates it for us. So there's like forms we can fill out, and then it automatically generates guessing they're PDFs of those reports. If you guys would like to, you certainly can, or if you'd like to have your personal flair on your reports, they all are fine to me. So whatever format you guys want to use is fine. Sorry that it's preceding yours, and I think,
No, it's fine.
Community
I like
engagement also has ones.
templates, so maybe I'll poke at that.
okay.
Yeah, so I just, I defined some more goals for us. I don't know how far you want me to read into this. I am going to, with these publications for the cemetery, introduction to Kalamazoo cemeteries, I think is how we can describe that. I do want to focus on Mountain Home, Riverside, and Southwest Edge Park, because I do think those three have some really unique things that the average person visiting might not know or understand what they're looking at. So that's the whole focus of these probably 2 publications, is to help people have a reference for what they're looking at when they walk through a cemetery in Kalamazoo. So it's very specific to what we have here. So that's, my due date was hit for that first goal. Next month, I do plan to determine this is kind of a fudge goal, I think, determine the medium for the goal. My goal is still to have a pamphlet that you can put in your pocket and walk around with, as opposed to a bigger, I do think there's definitely room for, whoop, did I pop off? I did. There is room for a bigger publication. I want to be a good steward of our funds, so my goal for my budget that I'm asking for is $500. I don't expect to spend all that, but that would be for printing a run of pamphlets, not the booklet. Yeah, I don't know that there's much more. I mean, other goals go out quite a bit. I did have an ancillary budgetary concern, which was I'd like us to discuss the idea of offering some financial support from the HPC to the Friends of Kalamazoo's Historic Cemeteries for taking on the community outreach portion of cemetery preservation. And when this has come up outside of meetings, we've talked about $5,000 as a gift to Gary's group. If we're talking about budget for the year, I'd like us to have a discussion if that's a feasible amount to donate to that group.
Feasible, I never know about. I think that where this would get slotted into, I imagine now, would be probably underneath the gifts.
Mini grants?
Mini grants, yep.
Excuse me, mini grants. Oh, man.
Okay?
Guys, have some compassion, please. Which I think would require them, the FHKC? Is that what it is?
FOKHC, yes.
Okay, that one. Gary's group, I think that would require them then to come, before us to request the funds, right?
Okay.
That's what we have stipulated, I believe, Patrick, right? Is how we want it to work. And
So
$5,000 is something that, go ahead, I'm
In
sorry.
writing or to a meeting?
Both.
Okay,
Well,
He's-
there is the procedure
Okay.
on the website.
perfect.
About it too. I want to shoot for success, obviously, for everything that we're doing here. If Gary can't make it, I think we can.
Yeah,
work it out, right?
definitely something in writing, whether they come or maybe you present on their behalf.
Okay,
I mean, he has been here before, but
Yeah.
yeah, but he's a snowbird, so he'll be back in April,
Okay.
so.
Then we'd want to think, and I can't direct folks for when you want to abstain from voting because of conflict of interests as well. So just something to bring up when you want to schedule the vote too, so you can make sure that you have to look into your heart of hearts and determine whether or not you want to abstain from the vote. So I think that would be the more appropriate course of action. Well, that is what we've stipulated as the course of action, because this would be qualifying for a mini grant. This is the path. I'll rephrase that. This should take the mini grant path, right? It does
Okay.
not qualify for our grant program, normal grant program, because it's not tied to a building or preservation planning per se. I guess you could say it is. The way that you're looking at it, it's more of the mini grant. Those go up to $5,000, so I think that is the path. And I think Patrick, it sounds like I'm on the right path with saying that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, thank you for that guidance, and I will work with him to get that underway. Thank you.
And me too, if you want to send over drafts of stuff, we can
Yeah.
look.
Good, because I really didn't want to just add that to a budget, so thank you for making that.
Yep.
And I think that's my report.
Sweet. Thank you much.
all right. Next on the list is the community engagement report. Who wants to talk about that?
Well, as committee leader, that report's pretty awesome. I see it's completely blank. Does anybody have any questions about it? Anyway, obviously we haven't met in a few months. From where I sat, and I talked to Nora a little bit about this, I think we're ready to mail out letters to that point. You said you were going to send a report to Luis to understand that? I'm sorry?
Sorry, it's under the agenda report on there.
Okay,
It's the
that's the
next-
second one.
Yeah,
And I see we've accomplished 3 out of 6 goals.
yeah.
That's batting 500. That's not too bad. But yeah, the CU looked like a very hard goal to accomplish. And I think we're doing it through mailing letters out, if I understand that right. And F was passed on to future subcommittees. I'm not sure what that looks like. Investigate a citywide diversity report for the city of Kalamazoo.
I think that's a
Okay.
fancy way to punt
Which
a little bit,
committees,
right?
what committees is it being passed on to? O'Connor Fund? Okay. Thanks for taking that off the plate. Yeah, I think sort of similar to what Pam runs for her mailing parties. Maybe do that to the list we finally go through, and we could have it over at our house at some point in I'm not sure the time frame. 2 months? At least it might be spring by that time, March. So I guess we got something to focus on.
So if you guys want to do it that way, I'll never discourage you to have a party with obviously less members in attendance than constitutes a quorum.
So if everybody comes, we can't do it.
We're not talking about business.
That
We won't
is
speak
my
to each
risk
other.
averse coming. That could potentially constitute a violation of the Open Meetings Act. All that to say, if you guys wanted to do that, let me know, because if I'm still gonna mail them out, they need to be in our envelopes. I just want to double check if I could bring however many envelopes over to your house to have them get stuffed, and then I'd bring them back to work to get them mailed out.
Okay, we can do it that way, or if somebody's got a better way, I'm open to.
The
Listening
alternative
to-
is like I do them at work
Hey,
by myself.
I think
I
that's,
mean, whatever you guys want to do.
We can get together and stuff some envelopes. That sounds great.
Yeah. So whatever time frame you guys want to look at, just let me know.
all right.
We have window envelopes and we have just plain envelopes. So that's the next, yes. Yeah, which one do you guys want to use? I'm a big window guy myself, but
Trying to remember this right, didn't we first do that didn't we hand address the mailing addresses like 4 years ago or so? What was there, I want to ask you some questions about how efficiently to do that at some point. Okay.
you need to have a designated scribe then.
Well, yeah, I remember we had people with good handwriting did the.
It helps. Unless you want to do some
Ought to be
prank ones.
something automatic could be done and printed off.
So we can do it that way too if you want, because the letterhead of the letters, when I print them off, I can make it have the address there. And then if we use the window envelopes, you just have to be good at folding, and then they show up. But it loses a little bit of personal flair. So,
You just gotta have a wet tongue or a sponge or something.
I don't lick them, please, right? We don't want any licked letters coming back.
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point. Okay. So I'll probably get in touch with the members of the committee about setting that up and moving forward.
Everyone get out there, get out your penmanship books and start working on it in preparation. No, this list looks good. Both lists look good. I think I admittedly get a little bit confused with both lists coming, but you sent me an updated list recently too for the workshop. They look like they're pretty much good to go. I put it in to something that I had in my email. I don't know. And it made the mail merge, so we're ready to go. So I will get them realistically probably next week is when I'll get the workshop one sent out. Same thing for this one though. If you guys want me to, I can print them and bring them over to you guys, and then we can, you guys can get them folded and put them into envelopes. I don't mean to take away from the party sense of this all, so just let me know.
What if we partied in different parts of the house, different rooms? Would
I
that,
can't, not prepared to speak to that. It's my stock response, sorry.
It's the host's prerogative for the vibe. All right. If we're all set there, Luis included, is that the full list for 2025
Yes.
for the Section 106 reviews?
I'll give you guys the obligatory rundown once again, as we do every year. City of Kalamazoo is fortunate enough to have a programmatic agreement with the state and some other folks. Mishta, or I can't remember exactly who it is, so I'll just call it the state. That allows me to review Section 106 federal funds that come from very specific places, though. So HUD and HOME are kind of the two big ones. HOME is an acronym, HUD also an acronym, Housing and Urban Development, and I cannot remember what HOME stands for. Either way, it allows me to review when these funds are spent in the city of Kalamazoo, which saves a lot of time, right? Usually they need to go back up to the State Historic Preservation Office. Just the transit, I think, even the electronic transit of those documents getting sent to the state, I think would put a lot of extra time into the process, right? So having this set up for as long as we've had it set up, which is over 20 years now, I think, is great. If you guys maybe recall, 2025 is when I finally kind of got the programmatic agreement renewed as well for the city of Kalamazoo. I, along with a lot of other people, I will not take sole ownership for that at all. Lots of people helped with that at SHPO, at ACHP, at Gun Lake Tribe, and lots of other tribes as well I reached out to. That's what allows us to do this work, and that's what allows us to make sure that people are getting critical repairs done on their homes. That's what the 106 review process is. This document is divided into two separate portions. The top portion is properties that were National Register eligible, or that were, well, yes, they're all National Register eligible, so they have a little bit more review that's given to them. I believe there were 17 National Register eligible projects that happened in 2025. Not that many, right? The next portion, where there's 99, I wish we would have got to 100. One more would have been really great, but I'm just a completionist round number guy like that, are things that did not need my review. So you can see that there's a lot more that don't need my review than do need my review, right? You'll see that there's like three main groups that we work with. CHW's Community Homeworks, KNHS. I think they've actually like changed their name to KNHS, but that's Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services is what that used to stand for. Senior Services, also known as Milestone Senior Services. This work, if you guys are thinking, oh, this kind of sounds familiar, the work that's being done here is almost exactly what we were doing when we gave the money to Community Homeworks 2022 and 2023, around about there. I can't remember the exact years. 23 and 24? Okay, so it is almost exactly parallel to that work, right? We're trying to make sure that these little things are what people might perceive as little things, but they're big quality of life things, right? Like a water heater or a furnace, they get taken care of, and that's exactly what this work generally is. Critical home repairs, again, keeping people in homes. I can't state enough how important I think it is that we get to do these reviews in-house because it really cuts down on the review time, right? I think any time spent without a furnace is not going to be fun, or any time without a water heater is not going to be fun. So we're cutting down that wait time quite a bit. The other projects that we generally see that pop up on these are things like lead paint remediation, which I usually really try to work with folks on to say like, okay, we know that we can work within the boundaries. There's a bulletin that was posted by the feds that says like the intersectionality of lead paint remediation and historic preservation. So like they're very well aware of it. The feds are, and that this is federal money regulations. We've seen roofs go on a lot, and then there are some times that the money is used for demolitions as well. Not a lot of those are happening on, National Register eligible properties sometimes, but generally that does not happen because there are a lot of stipulations included in the programmatic agreement when CDBG funds, the funds outlined in this document, are used for demolitions. Any questions?
Number 15, 817 Reed Avenue.
Okay.
I was just wondering, because it looked like anytime there was a window involved, they had to get further approval, but this one says they didn't. Did you just know it was like the same kind, or do you remember?
If I pulled up the house, I can look into it.
Just curiosity, really, but
I'll look into that one because you're right. Generally, I would have made them give me the more information. That might have been one, though, where it was not a historic window in the first place, and it got replaced by another non-historic window, vinyl for vinyl. I could look into it.
How long does it take you to do these reviews?
I think that's like a loaded question. Like, how long does the paperwork take? Almost no time at all, generally. I mean, usually, like, you can see a vast majority of these are not National Register eligible, right? Even if it is National Register eligible, the paperwork does not take a lot of time. I think that what takes the most time is seeing the project all the way through to the end. So if someone's saying, like, it's wild to me how long, just with all the paperwork, some of these things can take. So that's, again, adding the state into it would take a lot of time. Some of these will come in a lot, way before I even ever see them, right? Then by the time it gets to me, I'm going to kick it back if it's National Register eligible. If we're using something like a window, for example, I'm going to kick it back to them. They're going to get it. They have to go window shopping, then come back to me. So it's the continual hand-holding for that changes the project timeline, generally, for those. I think that then there's a lot of project guidance that we can give to folks. You're going to see like the term Appendix C pop up a lot, and that just means I don't need to review it because we wanted to have the foresight to say like, hey, let's just get some of these through. Roofs are something that are always going to be Appendix C, or furnaces are always going to be Appendix C. The hand-holding, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way in any capacity. I don't think a lot of people, I don't even think a lot of preservationists, there's a lot of folks, I'll say, that are not familiar with what Section 106 is. So I think the hand-holding is really what takes up the most amount of time to say, like, hey, guys, you do have to follow these rules. Let's make sure that we're coming to the best. We want to get to the best endpoint where folks are still happy in their house, but we also realize the federal funds are being spent. So it could take weeks. It could take months for some of them, I think. We put in, and I think that folks will ask me too a lot of times, like the rules for a demolition as stipulated in the programmatic agreement are rigorous. An engineer needs to be hired, an architect needs to be hired, it needs to be noticed in the public somehow. The public needs to have an opportunity for input then. And I think people are like, oh, geez, Luis, you're really like making it hard to use CDBG funds for a demolition. And I think that was probably set up that way for a reason, as with all of these. It's a long way to answer, but I think that the interactions can take a long time with some of these, just to make sure that we get to the most satisfactory conclusion of the project.
any other questions for Luis?
It's riveting stuff. Come on, guys. You guys think this is riveting? Writing the programmatic agreement was super fun.
That takes us to the water tower report from Sharon. It doesn't look like she's joined us. So Luis, what do you want to tell us about this?
What a journey this one's been. I guess I'm just going to come right out and say it in the beginning, terrified of heights, and I think I'm going to have to go up there. So just want everyone to know, lighten it up with some humor there, because I do not really get backed into a corner, because people are going to be like, you're the preservationist going up there, and I'm a little bit nervous about it. Sharon has been keeping an eye on this pretty closely, and I think that we noticed extremely quickly this was not a very open and shut case of, first of all, property ownership, right? I assume, well, I know that Sharon outlined in here like the ownership kind of maze that we're trying to go through. I think it's complicated because the land is separate ownership from the actual property or the structure there. That is my first and foremost concern. So I have setting up time to meet with some folks from the state to figure out what the next steps and what they think we should do about that. Separate concern, my mind is always going to be immediately leaping to the fact that I want to get appropriate permissions before we take some people up this water tower, right? Not only am I afraid of it, I'm just, very cautious about this kind of stuff. So there's that. I think we'll be able to figure that out, no problem. We'll be able to talk to the folks at SHPO, figure out what's going on. It just might take time, and we'll just have to live with that. Sharon, on the other hand, has done a wonderful job of speaking with Tom Neal, with Neal Civic Engineering and Blair Bates. He is a Mason. And they agreed to go do some looking at the water tower. The picture shows that those terracotta tiles are falling off, right? Those are extremely high up on that water tower. I'm not jazzed about those falling off just because A, they're falling off, but B, I don't want anyone to get hurt by them, obviously. And if you have masonry failing like that, there's something that's going on elsewhere. We need to address what that is. I want to address what that is before it gets to be a bigger issue, obviously, right? Blair and Tom agreed to go up and do a report for a full day's of work for us for $2,500. That's exceptional, I think. Really pleased that they offered up their services for something like this. They worked on this in 2007 through 2009, Sharon said. This was before I was here, obviously. It's great to not only have the folks that worked on it before going back up there, but it's great to have those two, I think, just in general, going up to look at it. So $2,500 is what's being asked for there. I don't know how, yeah.
I've got two questions.
Yep.
First, does the water tower serve any functional purpose anymore, or is it no longer functioning as a water tower?
No longer functioning as I know. Yeah, it's just yeah.
Would us funding this open us up to liability if something were to happen during the inspection, since there is no clear chain of ownership here?
My answer is I don't think that we're going to be able to move on this. I'm not comfortable stamping it. I'm sorry if Sharon might have a different idea on this one than me. I'm not comfortable moving until we figure out who that ownership rests with. The way that it comes down to is that this is extremely complicated is what I'm guessing. The water tower sits on land that's owned by Western. So if you pulled up the GIS, you'd see that Western owns this property. Got transferred a bunch of times, and if I say something, I don't know if you know anything about the ownership circuit that it's taken. SHPO had it at one point, and I don't think that SHPO wanted it anymore. I think that SHPO divested of all its properties. When that happens with an entity at that level like SHPO, I think it had to be an active legislature for them to get moved around. So digging through then to look through all those sounds like it became very arduous for attorneys with SHPO to do. Again, until we get that figured out, I really don't want to say hey, let's send some folks up there. Liability was obviously on my mind as well. I don't know if that's the super popular opinion, but that's my opinion, I guess. So, yes.
I also had a conversation with Sharon about this and pretty much concurred with exactly what you said until we know who owns it, because for our mini grant policy, if it were to become a candidate for that, the ownership chain is important because we have specified in our grant program that properties may not be owned by nonprofit organizations whose major budget is supplied by taxpayer dollars, and they ought to then therefore be able to take care of their own buildings. And I don't recall exactly what it is with the gift or soon-to-be mini grant program. I would have to look, but
I agree.
Yeah.
The nuance that enters in there that makes me extremely nervous is that this is a single resource district that's on Western's property.
Mm-hmm.
Kalamazoo, for the uninitiated, has the, I think, eminent, we are extremely lucky because we were the community that Attorney General Frank Kelly wrote an opinion letter to Ed LaForge, city commissioner at the time, where it was spelled out that public schools are not subject to historic district rules. It's cool that I mean, I'm not jazzed about that, but it's cool that Kalamazoo was the community that got that letter addressed to them. Makes me worried because this is one of the icons, obviously, of Kalamazoo, in my opinion. Again, I don't know if everyone else holds that opinion, but I just want to make sure that it stays in good shape. Figuring out ownership is going to be the first thing. Dialoguing is going to be the second thing, I think, and then we can further explore the money end of things, right? Yes.
The first renovation of the water tower was raised by kindergartners bringing pennies into school. For those of you who may, I see a lot of people shaking their heads. They knew that already, but
Yeah.
What year was that, Pam? Oh, I thought you just knew off the top of your head, man. Okay.
It's in the report. The repairs were made in
76. Okay.
Is that what it was? I see a renovation in 76, but was it earlier than that?
Oh, there's Sharon. Come on up here, Sharon.
I can just sit up there?
Wait, no, right there. Were your ears burning? Did you hear us speaking about this?
Oh, no, okay.
Oh.
Well done. Okay. So, wow, this is the fastest I've ever presented at anything in my life. So,
Sharon, do you need to take your coat off? You can take a moment and breathe. It's okay.
I actually took the stairs instead of the elevator, so. Okay. So, the reason I know about what's happening at the State Hospital water tower is my husband works up there. He's the lead psychologist, and he loves the water tower. He's probably taken 200 photographs of it. And he noticed that these pieces were falling off. And he told me about it back in July. I sent them out to the two people who were primarily responsible for doing the condition assessment of the water tower in 2007, Blair Bates and Tom Neal. And I said, I don't know, this could be something totally minor. This could be some Gorilla Glue we get up on a scaffolding and fix it, or it could be something else, and we don't know. So I took it to, with the help of Luis, took it to the State Historic Preservation Office, explained what was happening, and they have changed a lot of personnel since 2007 when they asked us to do that condition assessment. They said, you know, who owns it? Who do we need to talk to about the responsibility for taking a look at this? And the answer that I got about 5 months later was, we don't know. Because it's very unusual for a property, a building, to be owned by a department of the state government, okay? You can have departments that, like DNR, I mean, they have lots and lots and lots of buildings, but a department like Bureau of History, Arts, and Libraries or the State Preservation Office doesn't own properties. They control them, but they don't own them necessarily. And so it just got kind of lost in the shuffle as this department got moved around from one place to another. So we don't know who owns it. My concern, and the reason I brought this issue up to Luis, is that if it is something that's going on that is going to continue causing damage, and that it could be causing serious damage, if we can catch it soon, if we can catch it quickly, it may be something fairly easily repaired, okay? If we have to wait until they figure out who owns it and then who wants to dodge the responsibility for it, it may be way too long. It may just be too long to, not too long, but anyway, when we did the condition assessment, they very clearly said that this building should be fine for another century if we can keep the roof intact. And I think what may have happened is there may just be a small leak in the roof that has been accumulating. And as anybody who knows roof leaks, it may start one place, but it may not show up until another entire place on the roof. We just don't know. So I've talked to Blair and Tom. They're willing, they put together a condition assessment, not a condition assessment, a proposal to do a quick look, one-day examination to try to figure out what the source of this damage is. And they're talking about it costing about $2,500. That would be for them to do the assessment and to write a report for it. That would be waiting for the state whenever they decide who owns it or who controls it or whatever. They would know what needed to be done next. We wouldn't have to be delaying for this. And so what I am asking, and I'm hoping the Preservation Commission is willing to do, is with this unclear ownership issue going on, but I think the important necessity for getting some kind of a condition assessment done soon is that the
Preservation Commission consider giving us $2,500 out of the O'Connor Fund to be able to pay for this condition assessment. This is, to my mind, my feeling, you know, being involved with the commission for as long as I was, is that this is the sort of thing, the unexpected thing that pops up with an important historic resource. This is one of the reasons that the fund is there. I mean, the grants are absolutely wonderful. They've done really, really good things. But this is one of the reasons we had this. In case something like this came up and we said, you know, our $2,500 could plug a hole in the dike before the whole thing comes down. Now, it's not going to come down. They said it's going to be good for a century. Okay? So far, the State Preservation Office has said their guesstimate is that it'll cost over $1 million to repair. I kind of want to know more about that. Haven't heard back yet from anybody else from the, from the State Preservation Office about that yet. But I would just like to see whether this is a possibility, whether the commission would consider paying for this assessment just so that we could get it done and we have it on record, and then we'd be able to, if we needed to do fundraising or anything else, we'd have an idea what direction we were headed. So, take any questions you guys have, or?
We did have a burning question about the kindergartners that had raised pennies for what year was that?
That was 76.
Okay.
It was one of the projects that was not unlike this year, the 200th anniversary of the United States. They got a little bit of funding from the Bicentennial Commission as well, but a lot of it came from the usual donors in Kalamazoo, and then a lot of, I mean, they were making lemonade and doing fashion shows, and
You guys all could do this.
yeah, and kids were taking milk cartons. Remember how the UNICEF used to take the milk cartons around with the little slots in the top for people to give money for that kind of thing. That's what they were doing. And that wasn't just the kids raising $200,000. So.
You walked in right when that was.
Oh. Okay, well,
Perfect
there's your answer.
I wanted to know if your ears were burning, you know, you heard us talking about you. So I got an email back from Martha today.
Okay.
Of all days, right? So I'm going to meet with them the 20th next week to further talk about this. She emailed me after I emailed. We had an email thread after we talked the last time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lay all the cards on the deck, I guess, but you know, again, they were kind of saying like the state can't move forward on anything until they figure out ownership, and I want to figure out what that means completely for.
Mm-hmm.
I want to figure out what that statement means.
Right. Right.
Right. Hopefully, it is a very simple and minor roof thing that just needs to get addressed.
Yeah, we just want to know what it is. I mean, if it's something simple, if we could, you know, find an extra $700 and get the roofing company that's been helping to maintain the roof since 2007 to go up there and slap some tar in exactly the right place, and while they figure out the rest of it, that's, to me, that's the thing is, but if we don't know what's causing it to begin with, we won't have any idea if we're headed in the right direction. You know, and this is, I mean, as my title at the top says, this is the icon of Kalamazoo. When you fly into Kalamazoo, you see the water tower, you know you're home. When you come up Stadium Drive, you know you're home in Kalamazoo again. So I think it's really, really important that we do something for right now. At the very least, I think it will show the State Preservation Office that we are very serious about this project and this building. It's not just something that's, you know, cute, or that's, you know, it's not like the Elephant in New Jersey, you know, the Elephant Hotel. This is something that's very important to the character of Kalamazoo. Anything else besides the pennies?
I just feel like I need to speak up for Lucy.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't know you were anti-elephant buildings.
No. But that's, I think that's a fairly good comparison for something that is beloved by the local people. And no, you will not go there if you don't eat your vegetables at dinner. And Elvis did not live there, despite the fact that the previous supervisor of the hospital, superintendent, used to tell people that when Elvis was between shifts at Burger King, he lived in the top of the tower. You know, so, yeah.
Not crazy about that one.
And it was never used as a social worker told me once that that's where they used to put the hardest, you know, the worst patients. And I said, no, it's a water tower. It's really just a big empty tank, you know, but a really cool big empty tank.
It is.
So.
It's better than Ypsilanti's, I can there's no arguing there. Any questions from the commission?
It was used on the brochure for MHPN when we hosted it here, so it's definitely an important landmark.
Twice.
Yep. Yep.
It's kind of similar to the Sexton's Lodge discussions we've had about, do we hire contractors ourselves for city property, but this is unknown property.
Yes.
Does the quote like involve insurance for their going up there? Because I think there's some concern about liability issues.
My experience in the past was that because it is on state property, the tower and all the land around it is owned by the state. It's controlled by WMU, except for the tower itself. Okay, so the liability for that would lie, it's already there. I mean, they already let people go up there all the time to make repairs, or go to the top of the roof of the main building to make repairs and stuff. So I think that liability is not something that we as a commission, or that you as a commission would need to worry about. The people that are going up are professionals. They carry their own liability insurance, and they know what they're doing when they go up there.
Yeah,
So-
I agree that this is a good thing for the O'Connor Fund to support, but I do have concerns about, are we exposing the O'Connor Fund then because the O'Connor Fund would be the one contracting. I would have concerns about exposing the O'Connor Fund to the liability.
I don't know, that might be a question for the city attorney.
Yeah, I'm
or
not an
for the-
attorney, but
Right, but I mean,
I would want to make sure that that is not an exposure.
Okay,
and,
agree.
okay, yeah, liability law is so weird, but,
We can draft up something and we'll ask it to the appropriate party. I'll find who to ask that question of. I'm not even going to say ask that question. I'll draft something to send to someone in the legal department to talk to them about liability questions.
Right.
To make sure. The next question, so liability is paramount. Well, paramount question for me is I know that we were talking to Tom and we were talking to Blair about trying to do this by the end of this month.
yeah, I think we're going to have to wait a little bit.
I think just because I'm meeting with Martha, hopefully next week, that's probably going to get pushed a little bit. I'll have more answers after I speak with Martha. It seemed like, Martha, if you're watching at home, you can send me an email and correct me, but it seemed like her pouncing on it a little bit was probably a pumping of the brakes a little bit. So I just want to hear what she has to say before we move forward. And I
Okay.
just got the email today, is part one.
Well-
Liability is the second part that we can look at, obviously. And then the third part is something that Pam just brought up where you can come address it if you want. Maybe I'm not thinking of the same thing.
Well, the question about the O'Connor Fund and liability to the fund, we don't own the fund. The Community Foundation owns the fund. And that's where the liability would rest if they were to give us money to fund the project. So I think finding out as soon as possible who owns it and what the clear chain of ownership is will make a difference. There also, I think we talked about this last week, Sharon, was that the mini grant or gift policy right now, I'm not sure if I don't have it in front of me, I'm not sure if it allows public entities whose income is derived primarily from taxpayer dollars can receive a gift. We'd have to look at that.
So that's why the ownership is so important.
Right.
But
And I don't think that this is a no right now. I think we just need to
get more information.
creative problem solving, and we'll look more into it. I don't mean that in a facetious way, but I want to make sure that we're looking at all angles of this, obviously. It's a very unique issue, and it's, I think, probably the only case of who owns this that I've ever run into, truly. People are usually really, really adamant about that is my property. So this is the first time that I've seen it where it's like, I don't know whose it is.
Not when it's the state. So what I will do is I will contact our two professionals, Blair Bates of Building Restoration and Tom Neal of Neal Civic Engineering, and tell them that we're exploring some information and we're hoping we can get them up there before spring.
Holding
One way
pattern
or the
for
other.
right now,
Either
but-
the state will decide, yes, we know who owns it, or whatever. And I don't think the city of Kalamazoo would want it.
I don't want to speak for them, but that would
Well,
be my,
it is,
yeah.
it is part of the local historic district, and the historic district ordinance does specifically say that the commission can accept ownership of properties.
They can.
But with them on the budget that they don't have, I cannot imagine that would be.
Yeah, and I think that this opens up, just before you came in, and just so you can know the info of what happened before you came in, gave all the props that are due, I think, to Blair and to Tom. Not only did they work on this in '07, you listed '07 through '09. '07 is the date that I saw before. You were here, I wasn't. So kudos to them for not only have worked on it once, but offering to come back. Photos of that are like Mission Impossible, of them rappelling down the water tower. It's extremely impressive. You also missed me openly admitting that I'm not crazy about heights, but it's like, I'll go up there if I need to, that's just the gig. But
You and former Mayor Hopewell.
I know, yes. So first of all, I think that it's great that we were able to find the folks that worked on this before. They have an intimate knowledge, obviously, with the tower, and intimate knowledge with their areas of expertise. So A, that's great, right? B, not knowing the ownership, if you looked at a GIS map, this would be on Western's property, is what it would say on a GIS map. I said, that obviously historic districts do not apply to public educational entities, which, whatever, but we need to figure out who owns it before we can start to make those further assumptions. So if you want to write something to Tom and Blair, feel free to CC me on it as we continue to move forward. I have reserved space with Martha for next week, and we'll figure out next steps after that.
See what happens. Okay. Yeah, because if anybody else was hired to do this, they would they'd have a big steep hill to climb just to familiarize themselves with this unique building. Whereas these two guys, when they're walking in, they already know what they're seeing because they've examined it in great detail already.
They'd have a steep tower to climb, figuratively and literally, newcomers to the project. But Blair and Tom are very familiar with it already. So, and I hope that it is something minor. And just with any property, all the complications aside, I agree with your assessment, Sharon, that we want to figure out what's going on and address it before it compounds and turns into something larger, obviously. We just need to figure out who owns it.
Right. Okay, thank you very much for your consideration.
Of course, thank you for coming.
All right. That brings us to G, coordinators report. What do you have for us, Louise?
Didn't write anything in there, but I have stuff to share with you guys. I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you opportunities for upcoming Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 meetings. So if you just type in Imagine Kalamazoo 2035, it'll bring you to the website that we have on the city. There's a meeting this Friday in Edison, in the Edison neighborhood. It's an after work thing, I think 5:30 to like 8:15. But there is a bunch of meetings that are coming up, so you can pick which one you want to go to. I really encourage folks to go to these. I encourage you guys as just people who live, work, or play in the city of Kalamazoo to go to these. This is a big deal, right? If folks were around for the 2025 master planning process, you'll kind of remember what it was like. If you weren't, it's a great opportunity to see, to me, some great civic engagement and planning in action. So there's events that'll be happening in Edison, Burke Acres, Westnedge Hill, Oakland Drive, Winchell, Vine, Stewart and Douglas, Millwood, Arcadia and Westwood, Oakwood, Parkview Hills, Colony Farm, Hillenbrook, Northside, and West Main Hill. Those are all neighborhoods in the city of Kalamazoo. I missed two, so Westnedge Hill, Southwestnedge, and Southside. So, you can go to the one that's closest to you. You can go to as many as you want to. All the details are on the website. You can RSVP ahead of time if you'd like, and I'm sure that I'll see you guys at some of them if you guys do choose to go. But I just wanted to let you guys know that those are happening. It's a big deal for, I think, everyone in the city of Kalamazoo to be able to shape what the master plan looks like for the next 10 years. If you guys have questions about those, feel free to reach out, and if I can't answer them, I will put you in touch with the person who can answer them. I also just wanted to say thank you guys all so much. Starting off the new year with some great reports, so thank you guys all for putting together reports. Thank you guys for taking the time to think about this. I think it makes it a difference, right? We're seeing iterative process. We're seeing folks cross things off the list, which I think is awesome for their subcommittees. So super duper appreciative of that. Thank you so much. And keep up the good work. I will make sure that I don't have blank reports ahead of them in the future. I do apologize to the folks that I had blank reports ahead of their stuff. I think those are the two really big things. If I'm missing anything, let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have, or we can move it on to the next one.
Okay. Brings us to commissioner comments, if there are any from anyone up here.
Got a question. Last meeting about the word endorsement, you said you were going to check with the city on that. Did you find any more out about that endorsing things?
I have not.
Okay.
I will follow up.
Maybe, I'll check with Monica and see. It seemed like the board wanted to know specifically how the KHPC can help with the garden bed project that's coming up. And I'll find out from her if she's got some specific ideas that might be something workable there. Support might be a better word than endorsement.
I'm sure that someone has a word that they would prefer, so we'll figure out what the word is.
Okay.
Thank you, though, for the reminder.
How about those online minutes?
Online minutes still working, so when I meet with the communications team, I'll ask them what it looks like to put them on. I found all of, I think I told you guys at the last one, I have them all. Sharon was kind enough to put them together. So they go back to like 2012, I think, digitally, and I don't know about before that. But when we meet, when Nora and I meet with them, I'll ask them what it looks like to put them up. Any other comments? Questions or concerns?
Going once, going twice. All right, thank you all. This meeting is adjourned, 7:14.
Thank you.